Good morning. Before our gathering music this morning, I've been asked to address the somewhat tricky issue of applause during our services. And so I offer this reflection with apologies to William Shakespeare. To applaud or not to applaud? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to show heartfelt appreciation for the music and the music makers by clapping one's struck silence. Aye, there's the rub. For in doing either, whether demonstrative applause or peaceful silence, we fear that we may not be doing the right thing. And thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought. It's the end of my soliloquy, but here is what I suggest with regard to applause during the service. If the service is quiet, if the music rather is quiet and contemplative, we're probably trying to create this still meditative moment in the service. So please refrain from applauding. If the music is upbeat and lively, we're probably trying to create a moment of spontaneous joy, and you should feel free to applaud if you are so moved. As a musician, I can tell you that applause that seems forced or obligatory or half-hearted does not feel great. So please do not feel obliged to applaud just because someone else is doing so. If you are in doubt about whether or not you should applaud, please follow the lead of the worship associate and minister, and we will try our best not to steer you wrong. For your attention to this matter, we can no other answer make, but thanks and ever thanks. No applause necessary.
Good morning. Welcome to the UU Church of the South Hills, also known as Sunnyhill. We're delighted that you could join us for this service today. Our mission here at Sunnyhill is to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. My name is Krista Stanley, and I serve as a worship associate for this congregation. If you're a newcomer or a visitor to our congregation, please go to sunnyhill.org and you can click on the button that says New to Sunnyhill so that you can receive more information about our congregation and to receive our weekly email newsletter. Also, if you'd like to be greeted as a newcomer today after the service, please take a red mug and members will seek you out to make sure you are warmly welcomed. If you're joining us online today, please say hello or good morning in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. We'd love to hear from you and extend a warm welcome to you as well. For all of those who are here in person, a gentle reminder, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices so we can enjoy the service uninterrupted by buzzing or ringing. Today's service is titled Beyond Hopelessness. Cynicism may be understood as an attempt to protect oneself from the heartache of unfulfilled hopes. While it may be effective in short term, cynicism ultimately leads nowhere. But how and where are we to find hope in what may seem like a hopeless situation? Our opening words were written by Nathan Ryan. Be it real or metaphor, whatever is in your backpack or your briefcase or your purse that you've brought into this sanctuary that is weighing you down, leave it behind. Whatever you are carrying that is keeping you distracted or caught up in shame or guilt or hopelessness, leave it behind. If you need it, it will be there when we're done, but for this hour, just let it go. Come into this place with open hearts. Come into this place with a soul that has remembered how to be tender again. Come into this place with a renewed hope for this world. Come into this place ready to build a world we've always been worthy of and have always dreamed of. Please join me in saying the words for lighting our chalice. This flame lights our way back together again from our separate summer lives, and it lights our way forward into this new church year of promise and renewal.
Yeah, it's not, there we are. Good morning. There are, I see 3 seats right here, 3 right here, 3 right here, 3 right there. We have a lot today. Please rise in body or spirit to join in singing our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit.
Witness the mystery of His love.
be seated.
We have a new membership ceremony coming up now, so Bethany Thornton is going to lead us in that. Any of the new members who've gone through our class who are joining today can start to make their way forward now.
Come on forward. It is a full house this morning. Come on up. And for those of you who are wondering, our next new member class will be on September 24th after the service. So see me for more details or to sign up for that. Okay, I'm going to do a quick introduction of all of today's new members. When I call your name, just raise your hand so we know who you are, because I don't have you in this order. So we're going to start with Jeannie Walco. Jeannie looks forward to spending many Sundays at the services, being able to get involved in different activities, and meeting new people with shared values. Next, we have Henry and Audrey Huffman. Henry and Audrey look forward to once more being members of a faith community, this time with a better fit between their values and principles. They value Jim's regular reminders that belief needs to be transformed into action. Henry looks forward to becoming part of the church's social justice initiatives, and Audrey hopes to encourage others to move out of their comfort zones and see the possibilities that life brings us. Next, we have Don Mangle. Don would like to grow the circle of people that share his same outlook on spirituality and social values, and he hopes those connections will help him to grow as well. Derek Waldeck and Vince Kernel. Derek and Vince are excited to be a part of an open-minded community, and they look forward to finding where they are accepted and appreciated for who they are. Adam, you're killing me with this last name. Adam Snegaki and Terry Deemers. Adam and Terry look forward to cultivating community for their family, and they have their little guy Aiden up here with them this morning. Adam has chosen Sunnyhill because it is a place where kindness is the most important thing above all, and Terry has chosen Sunnyhill because she can explore spirituality without the pressure of a given doctrine. Dorothy Conroy. Dorothy has chosen to join Sunnyhill to continue to grow spiritually and to build community. Gail Murray. Gail looks forward to sharing in the community of Sunnyhill and helping Sunnyhill to achieve its mission. Dorothy Kohler. For Dorothy, walking into Sunnyhill is like walking into a bevy of pastel balloons filled with fresh oxygen, allowing her to exhale and join the sincere, welcoming faces just as she is. Harris Hartung. Harris most looks forward to becoming more involved in a community that shares a lot of his values and appears to have a positive impact on the world around it. And last, we have Kira Shelton and Melly Olson. Melly and Kira have been without a community or spiritual path for a while, and they hope Sunnyhill will be where they find both. When you are leaving the sanctuary today, you can see their pictures and their full bios on the board right outside the door, and they will also be linked in the Beat this week. I just took a quick little snippet to introduce them, but there's more.
Today we welcome into our congregation these new members who have chosen to become a part of this church. We are so glad to have all of you here with us and delighted that you've chosen to share this part of your journey with us. Will you, new members, accept our gifts of fellowship, mutual support, and service? Will you offer us your unique presence and gifts? And will you work with us as we seek to create a community and a world dedicated to compassion and justice? If so, please say, we will. We will. Congregation, will you welcome these new members with the warmth and comfort of your fellowship? Will you seek to add your strengths and talents to the new gifts they bring us? And will you share our triumphs and our struggles as our community grows and changes? If so, please say, we will. We will. Let us say together these words. which should appear on our screen, which reflect our common purpose and common love in the midst of our diversity of beliefs. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Please join me in welcoming our new members.
Good. Hello, hello.
Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Nothing in the house. Try the green light.
Check. Check, check, check. What you doing, Peter?
Hello, hello. All righty. There we go. Good morning, friends. Thanks, tech team. If there are any kiddos present that want to come up for our Time for All Ages, now is your chance. Ms. Christie, I think we might need more supplies for today. Good morning, friends. It's so great to see all of you here today. Good morning. Good morning. All right, so our story today is based off of ancient Greek mythology. It's called Pandora's Gift. Long ago, when the world was so brand new that there was still a little bit of a sheen on it, the gods looked down at the earth. They looked at all of their creation and realized we still have work to do. So they got to work, carefully modeling and shaping the clay to look like one of their own, to look like Aphrodite. They wanted their new creation to be full of beauty and goodness. They wanted her to be lovely and kind. When they were finally finished making this first woman, she was gorgeous. When they breathed life into her, she was filled with goodness and passion. They called her Pandora and gave her a special and challenging job. The gods wanted Pandora to keep guard over something that was her opposite. They wanted to keep all that was not beautiful and good, lovely and kind, from tainting the world. So they took all the bad stuff, the hatred, greed, anger, jealousy, despair, sorrow, suffering, pain, illness, all that was evil, and plunged it into a big, beautifully decorated box. And they closed the lid tightly and sealed it. They gave that box to Pandora and commanded her to not open it. They sent her off to live in the lower realms where the humans dwell, and they rubbed their hands together in satisfaction. All was well as it should be. Pandora would keep the lid on all the evils of the world, and the gods could sit back and relax. Pandora placed the lovely box in a corner of her room. For a while, she was so busy getting used to being alive that she forgot all about it. But now and then, when her eyes happened to drift to that corner of the room, she would wonder what's inside that box and what would happen if she were to open it. If you'd been given a gift and told not to open it, wouldn't you be curious? Yeah, probably. Opening it just a crack, surely that wouldn't hurt. Should she do it? No? Maybe we'll see. One day, she suddenly thought, why not? She opened it. Immediately, it was too late. The deed was done. Out flew darkness and fear, jealousy, greed, and hatred. All the evils flew out into the world. She tried to catch them all and shove them back in the box. They moved out with such force that Pandora could barely press the lid back down. It was impossible. It was hopeless. Or so it seemed at first. But as she sat there, wondering what to do, she heard something tinkling inside that box. Something had not escaped. The sound was gentle. What was it? Pandora opened the box just a little bit. And what she saw put a smile on her face. Let's not say what it is, okay? Just whisper it to each other. Can you whisper it up here? What she saw was what? What did she see inside the box?
Hope.
That's right. There was a glimmer of hope. It literally just says hope in the box. Literally. She opened the lid a little bit wider. Hope flew up and into the world and spread its bright light everywhere. Surely, if hope can survive in a box filled with all the evils in the world, then there is reason for all of us to feel hopeful. The end. And with that, we will sing you out to our RE classes. We're all going downstairs. Nope.
As you go, may joy surround. Love is with you always as you go, as you go.
Set the clock of your heart. 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 Raise the clock of your heart. Set the clock of your heart. Raise the clock of your heart. Set 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 the clock of your heart. clock of your heart awake. Set the clock of your heart awake. Set the clock of your heart awake. Set the clock of your heart awake.
Good morning. My name is Joe Barker, and I'm a member of Sunnyhill's pastoral care team. Our mission is to reach out to members of the congregation who are going through challenging or significant life events, whatever they may be. The pastoral care team focuses on the compassionate part of our Sunnyhill congregation's mission to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond the walls of the sanctuary. If you'd like to know more, please seek out one of the members of the team at the sign-up table today after service in our fellowship hall. If you would like to be contacted by a member of our team, you can reach out to us directly, or you can fill out a confidential pastoral care contact card in our fellowship hall and place it in the box that we have for that purpose, and a member of the team will be in touch with you. Each week at this time, we share joys and sorrows submitted by members of the congregation. Joys and sorrows may be submitted online from our Sunnyhill website, sunnyhill.org, or by filling out a paper form in the fellowship hall. After each joy or sorrow that I read, please respond with me by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." We have a joy and a sorrow from Nanette Miller today. The joy is that I had a wonderful tour of Ireland last week with my daughters, the older of which is 5 months pregnant with our first grandchild. The sorrow is that I brought home a case of COVID, and I've had some significant symptoms. I expect to make a good recovery soon, but appreciate your thoughts and UU prayers, as I have several risk factors for complications from this scary virus. To Nanette Miller, we hold you in our hearts. We have a joy this morning from Elizabeth Scanlon. Today, September 10th, is Tom's birthday. To Tom, we hold you in our hearts. We have a joy from Louis Portella. Louis is recovering well following, hopefully, successful left wrist surgery on Friday. Perhaps, he says, the third time will indeed be the charm. To Louis Portella, we hold you in our hearts. We have a joy this morning from Sarah and Frank Quinn. We want to welcome Cousin Diana from Florida to help us celebrate our daughter Sarah, who was married to Ryan. What a beautiful couple. To Sarah and Frank Quinn, we hold you in our hearts. We have a sorrow from the Hoffman family. Our dear family friends, the Thompson-Wender family, tragically lost their daughter Penny, who was struck by a car when riding her bike on Monday, September 4th. Penny was a beautiful and energetic and joyful soul. To the Hoffman and Thompson-Wender families, we hold you in our hearts. As we sing our musical meditation, we invite anyone who feels moved to do so to come forward, light a candle, place it in the sand, and then return to your seat.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Sometimes it feels as if we are treading water in a pool of anxiety, up to our necks in angst and anguish, apprehension and unease, afloat in worried restlessness, fretful foreboding and uncertainty. We are living in anxious times, times of angry discord and churning turmoil, times of voices raised louder than ever before, shouting and shrieking, times of rampant fear and ugly, unchecked hatred. in the midst of this whirlpool of anxiety and unrest, where might we find the warm, dry land of hope? The glimmer, however faint, of something better, something that lifts our spirits from the valley of despair to the lofty peaks of our highest ideals and aspirations, something that glows with the promise of a brighter day. Let us take a moment of silence to consider and hold in the peaceful clarity of this moment both our anxieties and our hopes. In anxious times, perhaps the spark of hope we need might be found in the hearts and hands of those around us, in holding and being held faithfully by those with whom we share so much, our dreams, our desires, our very lives. In anxious times, perhaps hope resides in the realization that we need one another truly and deeply, that the promises we make and keep are important, that the work we share is sacred. In anxious times, perhaps hope is made manifest in our reaching out to one another, vulnerable and imperfect as we may be, knowing that another's hand will reach out to meet our own. May hope find its way into our hearts. May hope find its way into our communities. May hope find its way into our nation and into our world. Amen. Over the past 6 or 7 years, it feels like I've started an awful lot of my sermons with a sort of litany of hopelessness, a recitation of the ever-growing list of things to feel hopeless about, from environmental degradation and climate change to the rise of fascist and authoritarian political movements, to related violence against LGBTQ plus people and people of color and women and immigrants, to the virulent greed that has led to ever greater disparities between the haves and the have-nots of our world. There's just so much to be hopeless about, so much to be cynical about if we choose that path. But there are other choices besides cynicism, other attitudes, other ways of understanding and facing the challenges of our lives and our times. Anyone who has heard me preach in recent years may now be familiar with the formulation of prophetic action introduced by theologian Walter Brueggemann that I have put forth multiple times as an antidote to the hopelessness and cynicism of our times. That formulation can be stated in 3 words: reality, grief, and hope. The idea is that to get to a place of hope, you have to first face the reality of the situation, however grim it might be. Grieve what has been lost, and then turn toward action that might lead to hope. This formulation of reality, grief, hope is a theological construct because it points to something that is an underlying structure of human experience. It points to ultimate concerns or ends and toward our personal or intimate experience of reality. Anything that addresses both ultimacy and intimacy can be understood as a theological construct. But it is a theological construct that depends on our own faithful action rather than depending on being rescued by some external force or thing. Far too often we fall into hopelessness and cynicism because knowingly or unknowingly, we have depended on something outside of ourselves to bring us hope, to rescue us from despair. We elect a president or other official, and when they inevitably fail to do everything we want them to do, we become cynical. We join an organization or group, and when they disappoint us, inevitably in some way, when they fall short in some small or large way, then we return to our default setting of cynicism. I've lived in that place of cynicism off and on for much of my life. I found myself turning to alcohol and drugs because it seemed easier than facing reality, doing the work of grieving, and ultimately acting to create hope. But drugs and alcohol in the end only create ever greater downward spirals of hopelessness and cynicism. The more we try not to feel things, the more tightly those very things grip us and start to shake the life out of us. But it is so hard to get out of that spiral of cynicism. Musician Nick Cave has written a lot about his own struggles with hopelessness, despair, and cynicism, especially after the death of his teenage son. Cave writes, "Cynicism is not a neutral position. And although it asks almost nothing of us, it is highly infectious and unbelievably destructive. In my view, it is the most common and easy of evils. I know this because much of my early life was spent holding the world and the people in it in contempt. It was a position both seductive and indulgent. The truth is, I was young and had no idea what was coming down the line. I lacked the knowledge, the foresight, the self-awareness. I just didn't know." Cave continues, "It took a devastation to teach me the preciousness of life and the essential goodness of people. It took a devastation to reveal the precariousness of the world, of its very soul, to understand that it was crying out for help. It took a devastation to understand the idea of mortal value. And it took a devastation to find hope." Unlike cynicism, hopefulness is hard-earned, makes demands upon us, and can often feel like the most indefensible and lonely place on earth. Hopefulness is not a neutral position either. It is adversarial. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism. Each redemptive or loving act, as small as you like, says the world and its inhabitants have value and are worth defending. It says the world is worth believing in. In time, we come to find that it is so. Each redemptive or loving act is the key phrase here. Hopefulness is not an end, it is something that is lived along the way. It is something that is created in each loving act, in each redemptive action, in each instance of reaching out to help or be helped. Cynicism, much like dependence on alcohol or drugs, is just another way of turning away from reality rather than facing it. And then grieving what is lost, and then acting in loving and redemptive ways. Cynics have a tendency to tear down and demean hopeful people. They are fond of mocking people who are authentically and sincerely working to create a more just and compassionate world. And of course, all of us are cynical from time to time. It would be impossible not to be occasionally cynical in the face of all of the daunting challenges that are facing us. But we cannot pitch a tent and live in that place of cynicism. Despair and hopelessness are a part of the cycle of facing reality and grieving. They're unavoidable. And in fact, efforts to avoid them almost always lead to more despair and hopelessness. But at some point, we have to decide whether we will move toward an attitude of cynicism or toward acts of hope. Hope is not some mythical or supernatural thing that will suddenly appear from afar to rescue us from our despair. Hope is something that we create through our actions. We can't wait for hope to arrive before we begin to act. We must act in ways that make sense in the faith that hope will come as a result of those actions. We spend much of our lives walking in darkness. Even when we are engaging in loving and redemptive acts, we cannot necessarily see the fruits of those actions. We can't necessarily see the light of hope that is gradually emerging from the dark. In those times when we are despairing and hopeless, it might be helpful to remember that others have walked this path before us. In her essay, The Sacraments of the Word and Celebration, UU minister Victoria Safford writes, "On those occasions when the weight of the world is closing in and the evidence against hope mounts as I read the news, when I start confusing cynicism with pragmatism and begin muttering miserable, unrepeatable things at the radio, when I sigh, I'm so tired, I'm so discouraged. At those times, my husband Ross will say to me in the kindest possible way, 'What kind of self-indulgent whining is this?' What kind of entitled grandiosity of privilege is this? To think that you or I or anyone has the right to sever the bright thread of hope, the tradition of dedication to the common good and faith in people's power to imagine great change, to imagine and take great risks. There is a beautiful, proud history of work for human rights and freedom, for social change and peace and protection of the earth. Safford continues, this is the story in which we choose to stand. This is not the story of oppression and imperialism and militarism and corporate greed and plunder, but that alternative story, a story equally true of those who lived their lives and gave their lives for love, for a difficult and truly patriotic ideal, liberty and justice for all. This is an ideal that is gradually gathering up everyone, women and enslaved and indigenous people, children and elders and immigrants, those fighting for human rights and civil rights, for better schools and pluralism, every person, gay or straight, who would sit at the welcome table. We're only here to pass this story on, Safford says, Ross tells me. All you have to do is keep the fire burning for a little while. Stoke it with your life. Don't allow it to go out and pass it on. You have no right to put it out. I hope and pray that we will carry forward this bright thread of hope, that through loving and redemptive acts we will weave this bright thread into the fabric of a sometimes despairing and hopeless world, and that in so doing we will create a more just and compassionate world for all. May it be so. Amen. In just a moment, we're going to sing There Is More Love Somewhere, a song which originated among enslaved people as an expression of hope and determination amid what must have seemed like an impossibly hopeless reality. We sing this song today in solidarity with all who are oppressed and marginalized as a sign of our commitment to work for more love, more hope, more peace, and more joy for everyone.
Please rise and body your spirit to join in singing with us.
joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere, more love. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Thank you. Please be seated.
It's now time for our morning offering. We don't have a designated offering this morning, so our collection will benefit Sunnyhill and will help defray our operating expenses. If you'd like to make a gift via our online giving system, you can do so by going to sunnyhill.org and clicking on the button that says Online Giving, and then follow the instructions. Or you can give by text at 412-324-3130. For those of you who are here with us in person, we'll be passing around our offering baskets in just a moment. Thank you so much for your generosity.
Just a few brief announcements before we close for this morning. I wanted to announce that next Sunday we have a special musical group. Silvia Bolognesi and her jazz group from Italy will be here playing with Rini, and it promises to be a really special Sunday. Also, I wanted to just give you a reminder that we're going to be moving to 2 services for reasons that should be apparent to you this morning. Starting October 15th, there was a piece about that in the Beat this week, and we'll be communicating more about that as we go forward. So please stay tuned for more information about our new 2 services on Sunday morning plan. Also, I'm going to start at the end of the service standing in the back of the sanctuary so that I can say hello to more people on your way out. I often find that by the time I make myself go into the fellowship hall that I've already missed half the people. So I'll be standing there. I'm not fishing for compliments on my sermon at all, believe me. But if you want to say hi, that's great. If you don't, that's perfectly fine too. If you want to talk with me, I will tell you that I'm going to say, send me an email to remind me about it, because I will not remember otherwise. Also, 2 more quick things. One is, after next Sunday's service, after the beautiful jazz music that we're going to be hearing, we're going to have a social justice organizing session here in the sanctuary. Anyone who is vaguely interested in helping us organize for social justice, please come to that session. It's going to be less than an hour. We're hoping to organize into teams that can then do the work, help do the work of justice in the church over the coming year. Any and all are welcome and encouraged to stay for that. And then later in the evening next Sunday, there is a session on the inhumane conditions at the Allegheny County Jail that's being hosted by Penn. It's going to be conducted via Zoom, but we're going to have a group here that's participating in that next Sunday evening. So a lot of social justice stuff coming down the road. Keep an eye for that. Today's our participation fair, so we have all kinds of tables set up in the fellowship hall about each of our groups and teams. I encourage you to take a little time to wade through into the fellowship hall and wander around in there. And now we will move on to our chalice extinguishing.
Please join me in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.